If you grew up in the mid-2000s, you most definitely have lived through the golden age of 50 Cent. No matter which country you're from, in those years there was no way to escape Curtis Jackson. He was everywhere. On the TV, the billboards, the posters hanging in our bedrooms, and even video games. But most importantly, he was all up in our MP3 players and Nokia cell phones. 50 Cent was one of the biggest artists of the generation, and for many kids like me, he was one of the first rappers they've ever heard. For me personally, the first rapper I've ever heard and became a fan of was Eminem. And of course, due to their frequent collaborations, naturally I became a fan of 50 as well, which cemented my huge love for hip-hop that stays with me to this day. In the 2000s, 50 Cent was on a roll, making banger after banger. Candy Shop, In the Club, PIMP, Wanksta, Ayo Technology, and many more songs that became the anthems of my childhood. Recently, however, I was very surprised to learn that one of my favorite 50 Cent songs growing up, Piggy Bank, actually sampled a Soviet singer named Alla Pugacheva, an infamous yet legendary person in the realm of Soviet and Russian pop music.
Clickety clank, the money goes into my piggy bank.
So, who is the Soviet singer and how did this happen? Well, before I tell you guys about it, let's hear a word from our sponsor, because this video is definitely gonna get demonetized because of the amount of copyrighted music in it. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. In our current troubled times, things such as privacy and security on the internet and even free access to free speech on the internet are sometimes at risk. It doesn't really matter if you're from Russia like myself or from any other country in the world, things get banned left and right nowadays, and I think one of the best and the most important things you need to do today as an internet user is get yourself a VPN. Surfshark is honestly the best VPN service I've ever used, and I've been using it for almost a year now, and as a VPN, Surfshark allows you to ensure your security on the internet and also give you access to some websites that you might otherwise have no access to. For me, perhaps the most beneficial feature of Surfshark is being able to use it on an unlimited amount of devices, on any amount of devices, and also I love the feature of Camouflage Mode, which essentially makes you untraceable and makes your internet provider not be able to see that you're using a VPN at all. You can do simpler things in Surfshark as well, for example being able to go on Netflix and switch your location to America or Canada to be able to access certain shows that you might not be able to access in your country. I do that all the time. So if you're in the market for a good VPN for yourself, then make sure to go over to Surfshark.deals/NFKRZ and use my code NFKRZ at the checkout and get 83% off of a 2-year plan and 3 extra months for free. Using Surfshark VPN is just a great way to make your internet browsing and surfing experience way more stable and way more secure. And also when you get it, you support your boy, so it's a win-win. So once again, if you do not have a VPN yet and you're looking for a very good one, then go over to Surfshark.deals/NFKRZ and use my code NFKRZ at checkout and get yourself a sick VPN. Huge thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to our story. Alla Pugacheva has been a massive figure in Soviet and Russian music ever since the 1960s, with hit songs upon hit songs and over 250 million albums sold worldwide. She's actually so massive in the Russian show business realm that she has earned a title of her own, being described by everybody as the prima donna of the Russian music industry. And of course, being such a big star for decades in Russia and the USSR comes with being quite scandalous. She's feuded with multiple other artists and even politicians.
Я с партии!
Не хамите мне, не хамите! Не хами мне!
Я отвечаю здесь! Вам молчать нужно сидеть! Все!
Yeah, that's Vladimir Zhirinovsky, the leader of the Russian Liberal Democratic Party, by the way. She's allegedly sent hit squads to beat up people for speaking up against her.
Ты приезжаешь ночью с концерта и входишь в подъезд, и тебя начинают бить. Это тебе привет от Аллы, говорят. И бьют тебя, бьют минут 15, 40, 30, 45. She's
been married to my twin and one of the most scandalous Russian singers, Philip Kirkorov, and she also lives in a literal castle. No, seriously, she does. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of Russian singers, and especially Soviet singers from back in the day, are on some real gangster shit, and Alla Pugacheva is no exception. Which is actually quite fitting and gives even more authenticity to a 50 Cent song sampling one of Alla Pugacheva's works. Piggy Bank, the track in question, was released in March 2005 and was featured on 50's second studio album entitled The Massacre. The instrumental was produced by an American Grammy-winning hip-hop producer hailing from Michigan named Needles, who not only produced multiple songs for 50 Cent and G-Unit, but also went on to successfully work with huge artists such as Lupe Fiasco, Drake, Lil Wayne, Cardi B, Bruno Mars, whom he produced the hit song Just the Way You Are for, and even The Lonely Island, producing their absolute classic YOLO featuring Adam Levine and Kendrick Lamar. Basically, Needles seems to be one very cultured individual, and him using an obscure Soviet song for a beat seems to be quite in character. The song sampled in a beat for Piggy Bank is a 1978 Alla Pugacheva track called Shakespeare's Sonnet 90, which is a musical rendition of the Russian translation of Shakespeare's original sonnet translated by a very influential Soviet poet Samuil Marshak, who is also known as the father of Russian children's literature. This was a common thing in Soviet music at the time, as a lot of pop songs back then were written by actual poets or used poetry as lyrics. The producer Needles sampled the vocals from Alla Pugacheva in the very beginning of the track, incorporating it into the beats pretty flawlessly.
Clickety clank, the money goes into my piggy bank. Clickety clank, the money.
Hell yeah, dude, what is this, bandstand? Now, even though both 50 Cent and Pugacheva obviously were huge in Russia at the time of the song's release, for some reason the reaction from the Russian media did not follow until about 2 years later. Now, since the Russian media's knowledge of hip-hop wasn't all that great back in 2007, which I don't really think changed much to be honest even to this day, a lot of news articles published in Russian media were talking about 50 Cent blatantly stealing Alla Pugacheva's work. I found at least 7 articles that have that in the title, and they're all essentially the same, saying that the usage of the sample might be illegal and that 50 Cent might owe some royalties to the Soviet singer. Literally all of the articles that I've read are quoting some Russian lawyer who states that, and I quote, "The fact that 50 Cent's album cover does not list Pugacheva as one of the songwriters might be a serious problem. If the credit was there, it could have meant that the worst thing Pugacheva could do is ask for royalties from the song. However, in this case, she could take legal action, as the usage of someone else's musical work without approval or credit is illegal." End of quote. To be fair, the articles also cite a Russian music critic Artemy Troitsky, who said that there is nothing illegal happening on 50 Cent's part, and I quote, "I think that everyone has the right to use a sample of another work in their music. If anything, Alla Pugacheva should be happy that a part of her song ended up being in a hit track from some black dudes." End of quote. And no, this is not me speaking, it's a direct quote. Kind of problematic, especially since 50 Cent was one of the biggest stars in the world at the time and not just some black dude, but whatever, at least he's got the right spirit, I guess. Also, another interesting thing I noticed in a lot of these articles is that some of them apparently used Google Translate or something and did not even translate the name of the song properly, saying that Piggy Bank translates to Svinaya Kucha, or a pile of pigs in Russian. Which I thought was just kind of funny. The article also speculates on how 50 Cent and Needles got the idea for the instrumental, saying that they visited Moscow in 2006 for a music awards show and may have received a vinyl of Pugacheva's work there. Though the article points out that 50 and Needles were hanging out with T.a.T.u and Yulia Volkova from the band T.a.T.u instead of the Soviet singer at the time. Come on man, even in this video I can't escape the wrath of T.a.T.u. Now here's the deal, as a very big fan of hip-hop music, I'm always very interested in samples and where they come from. So I actually tried to make this video more interesting and actually try to contact the producer to ask about the making of the song. Kind of like in Nick Robinson's video on Lil Uzi Vert and Super Monkey Ball, in which he actually talked to the producer of the track. So what I did is that I went ahead and reached out to Needles on social media to try and ask him about how he came across the sample and why he wanted to use it. But unfortunately, I did not get any response. So the best thing we can do is just guess. Maybe he did end up getting a bunch of Soviet vinyls when he was in Russia or something, because actually a lot of other G-Unit members also had Russian Soviet samples in that track, so I guess all of the G-Unit producers at the time had a real nice stack of Soviet vinyls in their collection. Anyway, with all this talk in the Russian media about the song being stolen, and with the media having zero clue what a sample is, a lot of people were interested to see what Alla Pugacheva herself has to say about her song being sampled by 50. And this was her comments.
А сейчас в интернете активно пишут, что 50 Cent, этот рэпер, сэмпл использовал из сонета Шекспира.
Ну, у них у рэперов вообще это модно.
Ну а чё?
Взять, ну и что такое?
Это же ремейки.
Там такие хитрые все ребята, они знают, сколько ровно там нот можно взять и так.
Чтобы их не засудить.
Да, да и мне наоборот приятно услышать свой голос.
Слушая рэп.
А чё?
Well, there you go. Pugacheva was quite cool about it, stating that the way the sample was used is not illegal and she hasn't received any royalties for Piggy Bank. She also stated that she's flattered by being referenced in a Western rap song and is not mad, which is actually quite surprising considering the fact that Pugacheva has quite a scandalous reputation and usually does not avoid feuds with artists. I guess maybe she was just afraid that 50 Cent has more shooters than her. It really warms my heart as a Russian to see that she was fine with being sampled, but a part of me honestly wants to see an alternative timeline where Pugacheva goes to war with 50 Cent, starting the biggest and most bizarre rap beef of all time. A 50 Cent diss track from Alla Pugacheva. Now that is something I would pay a lot of money to see. Anyway, this entire story really stands out to me, as we don't really see Western artists sample a lot of Russian or Soviet music. The only example I can personally think of that I know of is Death Grips sampling a Russian folk song on Billy Not Really.
All my palm lines running, stretching.
But you know, that's just Death Grips being Death Grips. You know, they're a very obscure band that samples princes, trains, and grunts of Serena Williams playing tennis. So perhaps sampling Russian music is not even close to being the weirdest thing that they've ever done. However, not only that, this whole thing really got me thinking about Russian hip-hop as well. There is literally barely anyone out there in Russia right now who's sampling Soviet music for their beats, and I think it's a waste of tons of potential. If you look at American hip-hop, for example, you can clearly see the lineage. A lot of it is based on the heritage of soul and jazz music, and many artists and producers such as Kanye West and Just Blaze, for example, have made soul samples their trademark. And all of this just gets me thinking, why do Russian hip-hop producers never look to Soviet music for inspiration and samples? We, as Russians, have rich musical heritage as well, and I'm pretty sure there are quite a lot of bangers samples to be used from Soviet music. In fact, I feel like there is something to it. My most popular beat I've ever made and uploaded to my SoundCloud samples a Soviet Kids TV show, and a lot of people told me it's something special. You know what, guys, I think it's time for me and other Russian producers to really get on it, get inspired, and start listening to our own music. And maybe one day some dumb Russian news website will write about us stealing some Soviet singers' work as well. Anyways guys, that is going to be pretty much it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy this little video essay on the time 50 Cent sampled a Soviet singer. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to slap the like on it as well, guys. Make sure to go to the link down in the description if you want to support me, to my Patreon, donate to it, I would gladly appreciate it. You could also buy my YouTubes to support me as well. Thank you guys once again so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.